and welcome to today's segment of The Power of Money with your host, Michelle Graves. Me. I've been the money lady nationally, internationally, and in local markets for over 40 years. And for those of you that have been faithful followers over the years, particularly on television and radio, you know that I have a deep and abiding passion and commitment to empowering individuals so that they will have the necessary information, resources, and people to begin to make concrete, significant changes in their lives. We are living in such weird and bizarre times that I've never seen the likes of. But like everything else, one of the requirements is that we be willing and able to navigate through treacherous waters so that we will be able to thrive. That's imperative. So again, in keeping with my philosophy over the years of being where the change is, my guest today is a very powerful, powerful woman in her own right, a woman I've known for many, many, many years in the world of banking and real estate. And she is my guest today, Tiffany Ray. She's the president of the Real Estate Investors Association in Cincinnati, Ohio. And again, her reach is national and international as we are in those times today. But she's going to give you a perspective on what's going on in the world of real estate. There's a lot going on, and you want to know what is what before you get out here sticking your fingers into water that you're not really capable of swimming in. And even if you're a great swimmer, you can always learn more in terms of techniques. So my guest for the next hour is Tiffany Ray, and she is coming in by way of Zoom, and we'll be talking about her life, her career, her balance. And before I switch over to her, remember what I shared with you all earlier, that the demographics are in. Women in the United States of America are officially numerically larger than the male population. And that has very real impact and implications on how things are going to be handled moving forward as we move toward the feminization of this country. And she's a part of that leadership profile. I'm pleased to say that it is here and upon us. So I want to give you that background so you'd understand why I'm going to be increasingly focusing on these new emerging women who've actually been in the background, quietly doing what they do, which is what women do anyway. And so with that in mind, let me go on and get started with our guest today, and have a seat, get some drink some coffee if you're at home or at work, and just be prepared to learn some things. Tiffany Ray, good morning.
Morning, Michelle. How are you today?
I'm doing just fine. I am doing absolutely fine. I'm excited about the show and about hearing a little bit about you. Can you begin by telling us what brought you into this world? Give me some background, give us some insight so we can get to know you a little better. I mean, I already know you. But I want my viewers to know you as well.
Absolutely. First, thank you very much for having me on your show. I appreciate the opportunity to be able to speak with you and dialogue. I'm really excited about that, and the opportunity to bring information to your viewers as well. My background stems from banking. I started in banking as an accidental banker. A lot of people don't go out with the mindset of I'm going to be a collector in banking, but I started back in 1991 with Citibank, and I've been working with Citi, U.S. Bank, Fifth Third now for over 30 years, mostly in the default mortgage servicing space, which encompasses REO, foreclosure, bankruptcy, loss mitigation, all the things that people don't want to have to happen, but somebody is required to do that and perform that type of work. So it gave me my background, which springboarded me into, I'm seeing all these houses, how can I make a difference in the lives of people? And so I moved forward to becoming a landlord or housing provider, as we call it now.
I understand. So the banking background and credentialing, which I have been so impressed with you over the years, the fact that you were a Black woman in banking in what we call the belly of the big fat whale, dealing with all of the foreclosures and loss mitigations and things that people have as consumers dealing with banks and homes. That is so much a part of what banking is beyond checking accounts and lending for big buildings. So you had 30 years with two A-rated banks. And
Yes.
were you in a decision-making capacity at those banks?
Absolutely. So like I said, I cut my teeth at Citi, but when I moved into US Bank, we were local. It was Star Bank, first Star, then US Bank. By the time I left there, I was over 5 regions, meaning 5 different divisions from Ohio all the way to California. With my loss mitigation department was over 294 people. And I had VPs under me for each of those respective departments. So I was over all of the default mortgage space. So like I said, I grew up in it, starting from a finance institution, going to a nationally known bank after the merger of the Star with US Bank.
That's beyond impressive. U.S. Bank, which was First National Bank of Cincinnati when I was, Ollie Waddell was the CEO. And you may not know this, but me and Ollie grew up together.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. We grew up in a little teeny weeny town in Kentucky, Falmouth, Kentucky. His daddy was the CEO of the First National Bank of Falmouth. My grandpappy was one of his commercial clients because we were tobacco people. And I remember having to go weekly to that bank with my grandpappy to deal with payroll. And Ollie and I were just little kids. And Ollie had red, crazy looking Irish hair. And and you know me, I was a little chocolate bunny, but here we both were bankers. He was from the side of his father, and I was from the side of my grandpappy. So, you know, it's just funny about life and about times and how things get worked out, to find out that he was the CEO of First National Bank of Cincinnati when I came back to Cincinnati. And to find out that you worked for that bank. That's amazing.
It is. It's small.
It's just all so wonderful. So how many years did you spend at that bank?
I was with US Bank for 17 years.
Ooh-wee.
A long time.
That's a long time. Whoa, my goodness.
I saw a lot from dot matrix all the way to printers.
I know you did. I know you definitely did. Now, from your perspective, so you were with U.S. Bank, and then you crossed over to Fifth Third Bank, which is a mortgage powerhouse. There's no question about it. They're a big boy all over the country. What was your involvement with them?
Yes, so I took transferable skills from having run an entire department and moved into their business controls environment. And what that encompassed is the governance and oversight, making sure that the department was basically dotting their I's and crossing their T's. Became a VP senior manager over that particular process, from the business continuity plan all the way to the Sarbanes-Oxley reviews, and also making sure that they were ready for those OCC checks that come up quarterly now for some particular reason, and then of course the annual reviews.
Yes. So when you moved over to Fifth Third, was your job responsibilities different, or would you say more intense?
I would say definitely different. The intensity level, well, that is absolutely relative, because at US Bank I lived through all of the HAMP, the modification, and the 2007, 2008, 2009 train wreck. That's what I'm going to call it.
It was.
But it was.
It was.
It was a train wreck. And when I did move to Fifth Third, it was during the time of COVID. So again, it just must be me with things that happen to the environment nationally, but I absolutely lived through that. And that changed a lot of the policies and procedures. You know about those modifications that came out in forbearance agreements because of COVID. We're just getting rid of those. What, 4 years later?
Yeah, yeah. It was COVID upended everything. It just did. It was how to do what we never thought we'd have to do in banking, which is a whole nation. A whole nation is in shutdown. A whole nation. Businesses unable to produce, manufacture, hire, fire. The whole operation of this country, politically, economically, families just blew up. And mortgages are the core of this country. People, beyond a job, they want a home. They want a place for they and their families to live. So what were your challenges during COVID, if I might ask?
Absolutely. So from a banking perspective, the challenge was we had all these internal working operating procedures that had to go externally. So the first challenge was being able to put governance over and items in place to make sure that the employees could even access customer sensitive information that they needed when they were working from home. So, I mean, that was a huge thing, just so that we could keep customers safe, their information safe, and they felt like they were safe banking with us. And then after we figured out that hurdle, it was, okay, now we have all these systems in place where the customer needs to dial into. How are they going to successfully get to the customer service rep to be able to answer questions? And then how are we going to ensure thorough processing of their requests? So it was definitely a new day for us in banking. And I think that is still being worked on today, those policies and procedures.
I would agree. This is a Pandora's box, and I don't have any recommendations, although I do tell everyone, don't throw away anything, because people are notorious for shredding and getting rid of information. And I tell them, along with the Internal Revenue Service, do not throw any documentation, information, letters, correspondence from your bank or banks if you have multiple relationships. Is that fair information to tell them today?
I would say it's absolutely fair, Michelle, and wise advice. What I'm going to say is I don't think that we've seen the end of this cycle of the epidemic of COVID. I think people are still trying to unbury themselves from it, not just from a financial situation, but mistakes that could have been made on their mortgage, mistakes that could have been made on their credit card, people being charged for things that they should not. And then let's not forget increasing fraud, because there are fraudsters out there that prey upon these types of situations, and you might have to defend yourself. And so that recordation that Michelle was talking about is one of the ways to do it. I would encourage everybody to get a source, whether it's Box.com, Dropbox, OneNote, whatever, and memorialize those documents in some form of PDF.
I totally agree. I don't think that we've seen the worst of the scam. That is a fact, because with AI now here actively, and my son is in that with Capital One right now down in Tampa, and I mean, he keeps me abreast. I started getting so absolutely paranoid because we were not prepared systemically to deal with monsters on internet. I mean, I'm frankly at a point where I don't even want to deal with internet anymore. I just don't. I went to pay my Macy's account yesterday. I didn't know that the account or the whole system was under stress, and you couldn't get anything through. So I physically have to go there today to take care of that business. And it wasn't even a large amount, but access denied across the board. access denied. That's major. Macy's is tied in with American Express, and you already know what that looks like. So I do agree with you. I think that things are going to be a little bit challenging in the days ahead, and that we need to be watchful and protective of ourselves and our interests. We need to. But shifting, so are you still at Fifth Third, or did you sprout your wings and say, this has been a good experience, but I gotta do me? Tell me about that.
Yes, I had an absolute amazing run with the bank. I grew up there, and I could not be thankful enough for the skin knees and elbows and long nights and opportunity. And what I had learned has been amazing. I did leave in May of last year, so it's been almost a year that I've decided. Yeah, I'm coming up on that anniversary date. Excited about that. It has been almost a year that I did take and remove myself from corporate America. Michelle, I've always been a planner. I planned to do it in 2025, but the opportunity was right. I had a whole lot of things, alignment for me, and there was this still small voice that said, you can do it now, and it's gonna be okay. And it has been definitely a great thing.
Well, I know that your planning acumen speaks for itself. I don't have to say that. I guess I was pushing you earlier because I saw so much brilliance and talent, and I did not want it to die in the banking world. The banking industry has cadavers all over the place of people that just got lost in the maze, and you can get into that system, and you'll be like a rat in a maze. You cannot get out. And so I'm just so thrilled that you have chosen to go into the private sector as a consultant, or the things you're doing, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But again, my whole thing was, this girl is so smart, and she's so talented and so capable. And I just did not want them to make you the turkey that was on the platter dish on Thanksgiving. I just did not want that to happen to you. So I am thrilled that you did the launch, and that the timing of God was perfect for you. And that, so bring me current. What's going on now?
Yeah, so in the background, like I said, I've always been a real estate housing provider right alongside my corporate career. And that was a blessing for me, because I learned how to be a good landlord and how to do it ethically and morally. I joined my REIA group because I needed more education and people around me that were like-minded, and so that I would develop my skill set to move further into this real estate industry. So back about 5 years ago, I created my company, REIA Realty Services. And the point of that was for second chance housing, and to be a consultant for people who were looking to buy their home and to move into this real estate, I'm going to call it arena, because it's very vast and very deep.
Yeah.
And then I moved forward to working with my REIA company and bringing forward to today, I'm the president of REIA Cincinnati, Greater Cincinnati.
Can you speak on that? Because many people may not know what REIA is, what its mission is, its vision. What is REIA?
REIA, and there are REIAs all over the United States of America, but I'm liking and grown fond of Cincinnati REIA because it is a nonprofit, and they've been around for close to 50 years. This organization is the fundamental groundwork of this organization is to teach people how to become a real estate investor the right way. I mean, morally, ethically, and how to become an ender. So the very goal is, after you start your real estate career and become a real estate investor, a professional real estate investor, the goal is to become an ender so that you can make money while you sleep, create generational wealth, and help others in this real estate game along the way.
Now, how in today's challenging market with interest rates clearly where they've never been before, and with the Fed showing no predisposition to lower rates because inflation has not been tamed, how exciting is real estate today if you can't find properties? Or maybe you can talk about that with me.
Yes, absolutely. So, from the most fundamental look at real estate, most people think I'm going to buy a house, I'm going to hold it, I'm going to get a bank loan, and then I'm going to wash, rinse, and repeat. But there are so many strategies to invest in real estate. So let's take it from a person that's just interested. They're working their regular 9 to 5, and they do not have a lot of money to invest in this real estate to buy a house. Well, those people could become wholesalers, or those people could become junior or joint venture partners with someone who is more experienced in the real estate game, like myself. That requires time, it requires education, but it doesn't necessarily require money. But there is a lot of money to be made.
I know
Another
it is.
example.
Mm-hmm. Go on,
Yeah.
continue. This is good. This is good.
Absolutely. And we can dive more into these individually as you feel, the need to do so.
Yeah.
Another thing is I tell some of my younger, so I won't call them students, I will call anybody that works with me a teammate, that we're just in different places along our journey and our walk. But you can invest in real estate without owning brick and mortar. So there are all kinds of notes. People make notes on the market, whether that's investing in someone who wants a piece of property and you're in an agreement with someone on their first mortgage or their second mortgage. There's also a thing in real estate where you can invest in commercial, which is really appealing to me right now. And those are called REIT, which are real estate investment trusts.
Trust, yep.
Those are just like your stock market. Some of those pay dividends, which I love. I'm a dividend stock investor. And after your research, you can get into those with relatively low money, whether that's money from your savings account, or some people have self-directed IRAs that allow them now to invest in real estate as well, so that you can grow beyond that 4% or 5% that is traditionally being paid in the market right now.
I totally agree. I was involved with REITs almost 30 years ago. Mm-hmm. On the commercial side. A lot of people don't know that investors, and particularly institutional insurance companies, did REITs. They're the big boys anyway when it comes to real estate commercial. I mean, they bundle and they manage, they build, they finance, and they're very powerful. And that's when I was introduced to REITs actually in my 20s. And didn't even think much of it until I noticed in the real world with people, a lot of people did not know about what they were and how they worked. So I'm glad to see that people are getting involved in REITs. You have to be careful, of course, you know that, in terms of the portfolio. But again, it's not a bad way to go. Continue. This is good.
It's not, and it's surprising that you would say all those years ago, and you're absolutely right. It is a well-known, it's a secret, but it's a well-known secret. But typically you see it on the commercial side. But with people being very active in taking lead on their own retirement and their own managing their own mini fortunes, I'm going to go ahead and call them fortunes for you guys. Their own mini fortunes. A lot of people are starting to look and say, okay, what's going on in this commercial space? COVID changed a whole lot of that, which in my opinion, because there's been a release on the builders and things that are going on, has brought a lot of attention from my perspective to the commercial space, and that includes those REITs. To Michelle's point, you have to do your due diligence. There's a risk in every investment. Period. I don't care what kind
I
it is.
agree.
Yeah, unless you're not making any money. But if you're going to invest and make any money, there's a risk, and you have to decide whether. And I liken it to amusement parks because I love them. Whether you're going to ride the Scooby Doo or whether you're going to ride the Beast. Your risk tolerance is up to you, but you do need to decide what that is so that you can stomach making those investments.
I couldn't
But
agree with you
moving,
more. I couldn't agree.
yeah,
Couldn't agree with you more because the majority of people need to be with Scooby Doo.
I agree.
They do not need to be on my favorite roller coaster, the Beast. Because if you are mild mannered, when you get off that big thing, you gonna have to lay down somewhere for a little bit. I mean, it'll shake everything in you. And that's one of the reasons that I think that your organization, REIA, which I've had on in time past, it's not been recently, but I like the concept. And I was, at one point in my career, a member of the organization as a mortgage banker. My company, Camelot Mortgage, was involved in, and I met and knew a lot of people, but that's been like 25 years ago. And I'm sure a lot of them are probably not around.
I don't know about that, Michelle. We have some life members, some people that you probably will know by name if you come back. They have a tendency to stay. There's been some
Okay,
people that are there since inception, and those
right.
are the people that we call life members, and they're the ones that are enders that are there helping to forge the path for some of the younger investors.
That is
So
so
if there's
powerful because there were some females in that organization. I called them wild, woolly, and wacky. But
yes,
they knew how to negotiate. They understood contracts, and they were just boss ladies before that
yes,
time that title was even out here. They were just running their boat. So yeah, based on that, I think I'm going to do a revisit. I do. I think I'm
yeah.
going to come. I'm going to come to your next meeting just to meet and greet and see where people are, and of course to lend any support that you would need as the president of that organization. Can I ask you, just statistically, how were you able to move so succinctly and adroitly into that organization to become its president?
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. So I did start as a member, like I said, and just trying to digest all of the knowledge that was there. So
Yes.
the beautiful thing about Cincinnati REIA is that there are over 22 learning opportunities a month, meaning that there's almost something every day, from a new investor to wholesaling to creative financing to short-term housing to now the new thing, shared housing, and more in between. But I volunteered a lot. I took on all of the learning opportunities that I could. I came out to all the meetings, met the people, did introduce myself, and told them what my banking background was, of course. Volunteered to be on some talking panels, some discussions, and then I became a member of the board, and I did that as the treasurer for 2 years, and then I was voted or elected, I guess you would say, elected president just starting this year. So it definitely was a process, but I believe in the organization and what their focus is to help people succeed in this real estate arena.
Well, I think that is a logical progression, and to enable you to learn the culture of that organization, because you know everybody's different, and clearly they don't have an issue with females, and clearly they don't appear to have an issue with the fact that you are a non-Caucasian
Yes.
as far as in a leadership role, and having been a board member, you know the politics. So that would be a very good road for you to go down because you are experienced in that realm. Do you feel that women today are challenged because there is a process? You don't just appear. Or if you do, I'd be really, really a little uncomfortable with that. You know, I have turned down board memberships. Today, I won't do it unless it's a personal thing. I just won't do it because if you don't know the culture and you don't know the people, you could wind up jumping into the ocean full of sharks. Is that something you feel as well?
I totally agree. I've been on many boards in the past and have navigated just I would say, the C-suite areas of many corporations because I've been in banking. And there's always an agenda, and it doesn't always necessarily align with what the one is that we perceive from an outsider's perspective.
Right.
That's huge for me. I refuse to be involved in anything that is not forthcoming with how they want to treat people and how they want to appear in our environment. So it took me a while, but much like yourself, there have been many opportunities, paid and non-paid, where I'm just like, I cannot morally or ethically be a part of that because I see what you say on paper, but that's not what is happening behind closed doors.
Well, I will tell you this. I was the founding trustee of the Ohio Association of Mortgage Brokers when it birthed. And I could not get traction with Camelot Mortgage. That was my company. It was a corporation, but again, I was the CEO. But as a banker, I felt this was an emerging form of business, and if I started the association, I'd get to know all my competitors. So I got no traction in Cincinnati, which you and I know, blah, blah, blah. And I took that concept to Cleveland, Ohio, where I birthed that organization with several other males. There was no other females, it was just me. And I will tell you that organization grew to over 3,000 members. So and as the trustee, the accountability was on me, which was okay. You make sure you keep your books right. You make sure you got people that are not going to stab you in your back. But again, I will just say to you, I have to admire you because Tiffany, being a woman in leadership in a male-dominated industry is no play. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so it's funny in my house. I always say to myself. So I love movies, and Star Wars and Star Trek is one of my favorite ones. And I love Yoda because Yoda says there is no try, do or do not.
Right.
And he has this thing about his self-talk. So my self-talk is strong. And my stickies are all over. I am built for this. I have the stomach for this. I'm going to say the right things. So I have this thing about my self-talk being so strong so that I am able to go out and face the world. So there were many times, Michelle, that not only was I the only woman in the room in banking, but I definitely was the only woman of color, if there were any other people or person of color. Let's just be very clear. You do have to have a slot for that, is what I say. And I've been very blessed to be able to compartmentalize things and understand that personal is over here and business is over here. These are my tasks, and I need to perform them with excellence and a measure of grace so that I, as you would say, come out unscathed. I have the stomach for it. I was built for what it is that I'm doing today.
I would have to agree with you. I think that there are women out here, I call us Amazon women, warrior women. We were made different talk to God about it if you got a problem, but this is how it goes. And definitely you are one of those kind of women, and particularly and especially in the field of banking, which dominates everything. I cannot believe the number of people that simply don't understand how capitalism works or any other kind of economic infrastructure, socialism, communism, how it works, and the role of banking in facilitating the movement of money. And mortgage banking is right there. It's right there. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so I'm going to say two things to that, and I'll talk about it backwards. You said understanding banking. Well, there's a such thing, guys, as movement of money or move money. So you have to understand that it ebbs and tides just like everything else. So I would always say to people, well, you get a little $10, and we'll just use $10, not to be cheap or inexpensive, and you ball it up in your hand and nothing can get out. So you still have it, but certainly nothing can get in. So you have to understand that money is it's a currency, and a currency means that there's motion, just like in that's right, there's movement, and it ebbs and flows, it comes and it goes, and you have to get comfortable with a relationship of money and understanding how it moves and flows, and understanding how you bring more of it into your own personal atmosphere and the atmosphere of your family. So that's number one. Don't be afraid to have a relationship with money and understand it. This is not something that they teach a lot in school. So talking backwards, you're talking about banking. So little secret for you viewers out there, Michelle said that she knew me for a very long time, and she was the first private banker that I knew, that I watched from a very young age. We both share the same alma mater, Walnut Hills. Hey, Walnut. And but what it did do for me was show me that this market could be infiltrated, that there was a seat at the table for people like me. I had the skill set, the wherewithal to be able to perform very well in that space. But I did have somebody that I was looking towards. And so I say that to you all to say, the person doesn't have to be your mentor or your sponsor, but it could be somebody that you see that's forging a path in that industry. Then check with them or look at them and maintain a relationship with them if you can, just see what they're doing. But know that it is possible to do. It's possible.
And I will say in your behalf that I have been watching you. I'm going to tell my age now, for a long time. And the fact that you were able to survive, because most people have no idea. When they tell me, they say, you know, money lady, you just cold. I said, wait a minute. Does money have a heat temperature? No. Money moves. And money will move away from anything that looks like poverty. It's just innate. It's like a plant saying, I'm not growing around here. And so if we are not willing to learn how this system works, which I've devoted my entire life to trying to educate people to stop playing with money and stop facilitating willful transfer of resources through your purchases and debt, that's just called foolish money, and that money will leave you and go back to its rightful owners, which are the banks. The banks control the credit of this country. So you buy a dress, it's been marked up 100%, you buy it and then you finance it at 26%, and then you want to know at the end of the day why you have no money. Well, that's a very simplistic example I've given, but it's one that replicates every day. Women facilitate the shoe industry. Men facilitate the car industry, although that's starting to change. But the reality is that the flow of money is going from you to someone else. And that's why I find mortgages and real estate to be very powerful, powerful venues for wealth. What are your thoughts?
Absolutely. So again, you hit on a whole lot of things. Your comments are full of gems and nuggets if people will listen.
Yes.
So guys, I don't know if you picked that up, and I would be remiss not to say, and Michelle, I won't go down a rabbit hole. I know that this is probably a conversation for another time.
Yes.
But when she told you and talked about credit and the bank, understand guys, that there's a whole other way of managing money. And not to say that I do not believe in the institution of banking, it's because it's what we've known for
Yes.
a very long time.
Yes.
However, back in the day, people were their own bank, and there's a thing called be the bank or infinite banking. And it's probably something that the Money Lady has had a series on. If not, it is starting to become a reality again since Black Wall Street,
Yes.
among many different ethnicities, Blacks, including brown people, our Latino and Hispanic population. Everything that you do does not have to flow through a bank.
Right.
You can learn with certain vehicles, insurance and otherwise, how to be your own bank, so that that interest rate that you're paying, you would be paying it to yourself. But I will not keep talking about that unless the Money Lady gives me the okay. But what I will say is that she is absolutely right about real estate. So I used it as a stepping stone to create some passive income as a housing provider, right alongside my job. You do not have to quit your job to start in real estate. We talked about that through several different methods. However, it makes a very viable business because there are many things that you can do, from looking at people's taxes to show them how to reduce those taxes, to helping people with credit to be able to buy their first piece of real estate. So it makes a very viable business. Now, we all know that small businesses is where you make the money, but eventually there has to be a trade-off so that you're not spending all of your time in that business where you hire people, and there has to be retirement. That's that generational wealth piece that Michelle was talking about. So real estate is one of the most easiest way to transfer wealth generationally. I have a saying, and I ask people often when I am talking with them or consulting with them, do you know your great, 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 great grandmother's name? 5 generations. In my life plan, I have a statement that I want my family to know their their grandmother, 5 generations name. Well, the answer, Michelle, is most people don't know past 2 or 3 generations. You know why?
Right.
Because they didn't leave them anything. But I bet you, if I structure my trust and my estate effectively, my people will know their 5th grandmother's name, because I will leave them something in the form of real estate that will keep on giving and giving and giving.
You know, that's a powerful thing you just said. And I just wanted to say, from my perspective, you're right on it. You're spot on it. Why? Because the generation today, without an understanding of the sacrifices and the work that was brought in to enable them to benefit in the form of housing and other assets, it becomes just fruitless. I think that the challenge today for many of our young professionals and young people, period, is to recognize that grandma and granddad did not have it. They didn't have the level of training, sophistication, understanding of markets. Information flows so freely today, where people that have very little can watch YouTube and learn how to fix a car. I mean, that's just how information flows. And in that same way, they have to be very, very specific and focused about how information needs to flow for their families and their children and their grandchildren to benefit. I mean, I'm just telling you, Tiffany, it's hard for people to even understand something as basic as life insurance because of the cash value in a traditional policy. I've had young people argue with me, well, why would I do that? Why would I pay? I can buy term. I said, you can rent too, but why rent when you can own? You have options, but to not even understand something as foundational as a tax fluid vehicle that will enable you to leverage your own money to do some things for yourself and for your family moving forward. Those are the conversations, in my opinion, that have to happen today. Now, is that something that REIA gets involved in at all, or is this something you personally do?
This is my personal thing. There's a lot of creative financing going on. REIA is starting to tip their toe into that particular space. Now, of course, there are all types of asset protection plans out there because you have to protect yourself in real estate from lawsuits, just, from people trying to take over maybe your free and clear mortgage. So there's some asset structure that's going out there, but from a perspective of planning, this is me, Michelle, saying that I'm going to be the person in my family that makes the difference for generations to come. I will, of course, affect my mother, who, thank God, is still on this earth, but it will be generational after me. And so I'm like, these are secrets that the rich have had for years, but it really wasn't a secret. It was in a book. Rich Dad, Poor Dad told you. It told us what to do. Think and Grow Rich told us what to do. Now, whether we read it or not and applied it is a whole nother thing. But this generational wealth and the planning of it is something that everybody should take hold of and start somewhere, even if it's as simple as a will. I was talking to I won't even call her a client because the other day, just somebody that I needed to help out with the conversation, and their mother passed away. And you know what? There was no will. There wasn't even a deed on death, which is another way. If you can't afford a will, guys, there's a such thing out there as a deed upon death. You can do that and forego probate, but probate is not your friend. And if you have something that you need to protect, then what we need to do is stop being selfish and protect the assets that we have. So it's a personal thing of mine, Michelle, and I tend to see it through and talk to as many people about it as I can to get serious about it and implement a plan of action.
Well, I totally agree with you. And of course, I've been talking about PODs and TODs and all of that for many, many years as if you don't want to do a will, at least do this, okay? At least have systems in place for that. But the real hard task before us as what I call leaders and visionaries is to talk a language that people can resonate with, that does not seem so intimidating and so foreign. And I tell people, it all sounds intimidating and foreign until you get your feet in it and you learn the language. Every industry has its own language. Psychologists don't talk the way that normal people talk, or engineers don't talk the way that non-engineers talk. There is a language that every industry has, including finance, including banking, all of leveraging, all those things have their own language. But the challenge for everyone that's listening in and watching is don't be intimidated. Do not allow your own inadequacies and insecurities to bring a halt to the vision that is before you. You can make a difference in your family. You don't have to be a person that's buried and they look at you in the obituary and that's the end of it. You really can do things creatively, but it's going to take a willingness to change your mindset. You have to change. You cannot hold on to something that doesn't even exist anymore. You just can't. And I'm not trying to stir anything up. I'm just calling it the way Tiffany will tell you. Michelle's always called it straight. Is that not true, Tiff?
Absolutely true. Michelle is telling you guys to mind your mental mindset. So there is a such thing as a poverty mindset.
Yes.
And one of affluency. And we have to move past beyond the day-to-day poverty mindset to a mindset of growth, period. It has to happen. Baby steps. So you guys, encourage you, and I'm going to encourage you even further. So over the next 30 days, I like actionable items. Pick one thing, one area in your life. We're talking about money now, and I hope that it is money. But if you have a health situation that you know that you need to exercise more, drink more water, or if you have a money situation where you know you need to reevaluate your spending for a budget, over the next 30 days, pick one area and work on that and make a weekly goal and check it off on the calendar. I love checklists. My husband says I live my life by checklists, but I do because it makes me actionable. But whatever your thing is, your calendar, whatever, pick one item and work on it for the next 4 weeks. Set a goal.
I think that is excellent advice. I know that I do my affirmations every day, and I follow through because procrastination is the death knell of many, many dreams, which is I'll get around to it, or oh, that's a nice thought. You are shooting yourself in the foot if you cannot speak into life, declare it, and declare it as a truth, and ask God to help you. There's no sin. You can't do all this on your own. You're going to need help. And believe me, help will come if you show the initiative to see change unfold. That is just the truth. Nothing just happens by accident. There's no such thing as luck. There is, as Tiff says, those checklists, those follow-ups, those follow-throughs. So viewers, we're concluding today's interview with Tiffany Ray, who is president of the Real Estate Investors Association Cincinnati chapter. And she's going to give you some information if you are interested in getting involved. I certainly encourage you to do so, to make a change and make it today. Just declare it so and begin to take those tiny baby steps. Tiffany, if you'll give us that information as we wrap up today's show.
Absolutely. I would like to invite you to a free session at REIA. If you would go to Cincinnati REIA, that's Cincinnati REIA.com, you would be able to download a free pass for one of the live in-person meetings. The phone number there is 513-407-3137. Also, you can see more about me at tiffanyray.com.
I thank you so much for what is absolutely a joyous interview for me, because you're doing it, and I'm excited for you, and I'm excited to see that you got it and that you're doing it. And I use Tiffany Ray as a standard for everybody. This is America. I have lived everywhere, but this is America. And if it's going to happen to you, it better happen here, and it better happen now. But you make that call, not me. It's a pleasure, a joy, and I thank you so much for being a part of today's segment of The Power of Money with Michelle Graves. God bless you all, and you take care. Bye-bye.